So the NBA just recently saw one of its most polarizing players in the history of the league call it quits, as Russell Westbrook is finally moving on from the NBA regardless of the fact that he never won a championship. Nowadays, people really tend to see Westbrook through a very harsh lens. And trust me, I certainly recognize his weaknesses and his flaws. But I've got to admit, he's one of my favorite basketball players of all time, because of what he represents, and at the end of the day, this league is all about entertainment. I am very sad to see this explosive guard make his exit from the league. And I thought I was going to make this long video really trying to articulate all my thoughts about him leaving, but the truth is, I just recently did that with a couple friends of mine on the Johnny Talks podcast. I invited Skap Attack and TheRealMindCrime to be a part of that, and you can go watch that now in its fullness, but I clipped out our conversation related to Russell Westbrook, and I'm presenting it to you guys now with all of my editing involved because I think we did a pretty good job of reflecting on his career and what makes him special, but also what makes him flawed. Hopefully this all gives you an opportunity to appreciate Russell Westbrook for what he was, as he says farewell from the sport that we all love.
I'm not going to lie. I said this with my member stream just the other day. I actually love Russell Westbrook. I really love Russell Westbrook because to me, when he was at his best, like when he was really young and athletic and explosive, he reminded me a lot about what made 90s basketball so special.
Yeah.
He was irreverent. He was explosive. He was in your face. He had attitude. He would yell after a dunk. He would shout at the crowd. He'd trash talk, that sort of thing. I remember when we played them in the playoffs, Lakers versus OKC in 2012, he'd hit some big baskets and then he'd just shout at the Staples Center crowd. And I'm like, dude, this like pains me. He felt like a killer, and that's why Kobe compared him. But that it's the other things, it's the IQ aspects and stuff. And so, guys, I want you each to take a turn. Give me some of your thoughts on Russell Westbrook as he makes his exit out of the NBA. What do you think is an accurate perspective of him as an athlete?
Russ, man, I feel very similar to how like Kobe and MJ portray him, which is like when it comes to the amount of energy and just chaos he brings to a basketball court, like it's so commendable. Like I don't know, you guys have been on a basketball court to have that level of energy for 40 plus minutes, like that is insanity. And so I think he had all the mental aspects of an absolute true killer. The difference is a guy like Kobe, a guy like Jordan, once they're athletics, I mean, think about like Jordan post 1990. You see a guy who's starting to realize, I'm not going to fly forever. Yeah. What's next? How do I get to the next chapter now? And he kept adapting his game and working on his weaknesses until the very end. Unfortunately, Russ, I have a lot to say about the Lakers experiment, but what experiment, just as a basketball fan, did teach me was he's one jump shot away from being like that guy. But that is his weakness in his older age, is you don't have the explosive athleticism anymore to get to the basket at will, and you don't have the ball in your hand. That was even a worse move by LA. But if you don't and you're forced to shoot, we saw what happened. And that was like near Ben Simmons type stuff that happened that year. So I think it's one of those, I wish he would have worked on that a lot more after about like 7 or 8 years in the NBA, when his body starts wearing out. I really wished he worked on that jumper and mastered it. I think of how Vince Carter extended his career. He just became like a jump shot gunslinger from the guy like, possibly the greatest dunker of all time to a shooter. And that's how you extend a career. And unfortunately, we never got to see Russ do that. But before I hand this over, I'll say one thing. Russ, I have a ton of respect for the guy. 1 year before he ended up on that terrible situation with the Lakers, the guy averaged a triple-double, man. So ball in his hand, whether or not he can shoot a jumper, the impact he can make for a team, phenomenal. So them taking the ball out of his hands, putting it in LeBron's hands, and making Russ into a wing shooter, I think that felt like almost like personal. Like what do you basically just killed his entire career right there in one season.
Go ahead, Skap.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. Just give me Johnny, give me the Oscar wrap it up music if you want me to stop talking, because I think Russell Westbrook he has a complicated legacy. I think there's a lot of criticisms inherently about him, and a lot of them are fair. You know, he's played with a lot of all-time great players. He played in a lot of good situations, and the guy's never won an NBA championship in 18 years. And 18. Some of that, to a large degree, is because of his own shortcomings or his own inadequacies or inefficiencies on the court. With that, so I know I shouldn't like him. And I know this is the one guy that I feel I'm a little hypocritical about. I strive for consistency at all times, but I will fully admit it right off the top. Like, I like Russell Westbrook. I've been a fan his entire career. And the thing that I will always think fondly on, honestly, is one of his younger times in the NBA, his one and only NBA Finals appearance in that 2012 series against the Super Team Heat, where he played a great series, guys. 27-6-6, I think, in that series. I think he outplayed Dwayne Wade as the second guy on that in that series. And for 30 years of watching NBA basketball, he has one of the 10 probably greatest NBA Finals performances I've ever seen in that Game 4, where they're down 2-1, the Thunder are in Miami. It's a must-win. He had 43 points in that game on 20 of 32 shooting. Jeez. And that was during a time, I think LeBron James is, for his career, wildly overrated from a defensive perspective. But during that little stint of time when he was in Miami, he actually was an elite, like all-league caliber defender. I remember when he absolutely locked down Derrick Rose in Derrick Rose's MVP season in the East Finals. But in that Game 4 in Miami, everybody was switching off. LeBron was all over Russell Westbrook, 23-year-old Russell Westbrook in that game, and he couldn't do anything with him. At that point in time, I started calling Russell Westbrook the mini Mamba because of his mindset, his ferocity, the way he attacked the game, the basket, everything. I just loved the way the guy played the game. And yes, he never won a championship. But guys, we waited 55 years in NBA history to see a triple-double. Like, one guy and one guy only did it in 1961-62. No one else did it for 55 years. Russell Westbrook did it 4 times in a 5-year stretch. I am 6'3", 190. He's listed at 6'4", 200. The fact that he's relatively my size, it is jaw-dropping and mind-boggling to imagine a guy that accomplished that over a 5-year span. Just an incredible player, an incredible competitor. And I think the reason why people like us, who typically don't like guys like him because he doesn't win, but we are inspired by and we are in love with guys that want it so bad, that work so hard and so tirelessly, leave everything out there. And that is what I will always fondly think about when I think of Russell Westbrook. It wasn't always pretty, guys. It wasn't always effective, but he was unapologetically Russ. And he was one of the greatest forces in basketball history.
I think I could say it like this real quick, and I want to see if you guys agree with me. He never won one, but I was always rooting all the way to the end. I wanted him to. That's where the disappointment is. I'm not disappointed in him. I'm just like disappointed it didn't happen. You know, like I kind of had the same feeling last season when Chris Paul went into the sunset so sadly. It was like, I really wanted you to get one. Like, there's those rare people, like a John Stockton. Like, man, I really wanted you to get one. Charles Barkley. And now Russ is on that list. It's a very respected list, though. You know, there's not that many players on my list of, like, I see you as a champion, even though you didn't get it. But I know history's going to forget, unfortunately. But yeah, like Skap said, like the respect level I have for him is through the roof. Because after Jordan, I didn't know if we were going to get one. We had Kobe, and that was great. And then I didn't know if we were going to get another one. We had Russ, D. Rose, and Dwayne Wade. And it seemed like it ended there, you guys. Who is Russ like? Is he the last real true killer we've seen with that mindset? Even though it didn't lead to championships, with that, like, I will end my career today if I have to in order to win this damn game.
Sure. Yeah, if that's what you mean by a killer, yeah, he's one of the last of a dying breed for sure. I will say this though, like, I love what Skap says about him having a very complicated legacy. I think he'll be a very complicated player to look back on. Like, I'll be making videos about him 20 years from now, trying to, I hope so. I hope you two still around and I'm still around. And if that's the case, I'll be trying to contextualize a lot of the things that happen, because he has so many things that rightly he's blamed for. Like you said, Real Mind Crime, not enough adapting, relied heavily on his athleticism, was never a good perimeter shooter, but similar to Charles Barkley, couldn't stop shooting them damn threes, regardless of the fact that he wasn't a great 3-point shooter. A little too turnover prone. Sometimes his explosiveness and in transition, he's a monster. Other times he's just out of control. So it's hard to say what you're going to get from him. But at the same time, they made it to the NBA Finals in 2012. They made it to the Western Conference Finals in 2016. And it wasn't just him that laid an egg. It was Kevin Durant, too. They both folded after having a 3-1 lead. KD played terrible in Game 6 and Game 7 of that series. Not only that, KD leaves him to join the Golden State Warriors. LeBron fans love talking about the fact how that ruined the big aspects of LeBron's career. But same thing for Russell Westbrook. Yeah. Do they not get a championship in that window? I think they might in 100%. Those next few years, because then he has that triple-double season where the best teammates he's got are what? Roberson, Steven, Victor Oladipo.
And Enes Kanter. Those
oh, no.
Yes. No, Victor Oladipo and Kanter were the two second leading scorers to Russ that year.
That's so funny because, you know, we
WNBA
see that guy all over the news for different things. But I never actually saw him play at his Kanter, so now I know he was on that team. No, like Russ, how good Russ played the first year without KD. Like, we can't forget about that. That was a monster season with zero help, like you guys said. Like, he willed that team.
Guys, they won 55 the year before when KD was there. KD left, stabbed them in the back. They didn't really have any way to replace him. They only won 8 fewer games.
That's insane.
Because of Russell Westbrook was literally a force of nature that season. And I hear people today say he shouldn't have got the MVP. Disgusting to me. Like, that was one of the great individual seasons ever. Led the league in scoring, 3rd in assists, 10th in rebounds, 10th at 6.4.
And at that point, that was the first time we'd seen an average triple-double since Oscar.
He normalized it.
Yes,
he normalized
it. Now it's a different thing. You can't just give that to anybody who averages a triple-double. The game has changed. But back then, like, when did Oscar do that? In the
1962.
60s? Yeah.
61-62 season. Yep.
62. Yeah, we were waiting a long ass time for something like that to happen. So you have to.
He made it so normal that Nikola Jokic has averaged a triple-double the last 2 seasons and nobody cares because Russell Westbrook did it 4 times. Yeah. You know, it's like, that's how much he truly normalized it. And the thing is, I talk about him being unfairly blamed. Obviously, there's how things ended with KD. But then eventually he gets to Los Angeles and he becomes the new scapegoat for everything that went wrong with that team, when honestly he was a bad acquisition from the jump. But now, even the last 3 years, Russ wanted to play. Russ wanted to play, and he played 68 games, 75 games, 64 games. So by today's NBA standards, he's actually still playing a lot as a 6th man of the year candidate. To me, I just think it's sad that he can't get a spot, and I think it's beyond basketball. I think he's good enough to still play.
I agree.
And be a good piece coming off the bench, and now he's humbled enough to where he could do that. But I think everybody views him as like a curse. Basically, you bring him on the roster, it's basically been a seal that you're not winning a championship, because that's always the way it's been. So it's almost like people in baseball are super superstitious. It feels like this is a superstitious aspect of basketball now, is that Russell Westbrook thing.
I have a different take than that, but I get what you're saying. Here's the way I view the problem with the reasons why we respect Russ so much are the reasons that NBA teams are afraid to sign him right now. The NBA has become very organized, very robotic, very interchangeable. Anybody can play this position. Anybody can do this job. You stand here, you shoot the 3, like to have a wild card in a type of basketball that the NBA is playing right now, I think is the worst nightmare for the system. Now, that goes against everything I believe in with basketball, because I believe basketball needs to be organic, free flowing, and it depends on your roster. We got to build our team based on the talents of the individuals on the team. I'll always believe that. Russ fits right into any of those schemes, but into this robotic type of NBA where everybody has to just play a role, and do nothing else. Russ doesn't fit in anymore, and it's unfortunate because when they let him loose in Denver, when he was playing there, he was very effective. I saw him as a huge asset for that team. So unfortunately, I think if the league was not going this direction, we could have got another like 3 years out of the guy. You know?
And to be fair, it's all relative. I feel like the reason we're all being so positive about Russell Westbrook right now is because we, for the most part, hear the negativity. We hear him being blamed for everything, all that sort of thing. And the reality is, like, he's a very complex player with a lot of different teams, a lot of different moving parts. If 20 years from now, people are trying to call Russell Westbrook the greatest player of all time who never won a championship, guess what? Our tune's going to shift. And now all of a sudden we're all negative because we're trying to contextualize why he contributed to him not winning, contributed significantly. But yeah, for me, it's just a huge bummer to see him go out this way, because I feel like he can have an impact, and I think his talent deserves better. Go ahead, Skap.
I watched every game he played with the Nuggets. I'm a big Nuggets fan. I love Jokic. He was fantastic most of that year. He took on whatever they needed. Like if they just needed him to be an energizer off the bench, play defense, he did. When they had a bunch of injuries, he started some games. He was great. His on off and split metrics with Jokic on the floor, like Jokic was even better. As great as Jokic is, he was even better with Russ on the floor because Russ had an understanding of how and where to get him the ball. I don't understand. And it hasn't been him like jumping all over the NBA like some mercenary or like carpetbagging guy like LeBron James. He basically is kicked out of places.
He's like, kicked out. It's the opposite. Yeah.
Like, so I don't get, like, there was this big narrative that, he declined the player option in Denver. He wanted more money. Not true. He wanted to stay there. They didn't want him. So I
remember. I was mad at Denver for that. They cut him loose.
Like, I wish they would have kept him, picked up the option, kept him last year, kept him again, had him again this season. He was a great option for them, and he really benefited them overall. I don't understand why there is such this negative commentary swirling around Russell Westbrook. And it seems to be, again, pervasive throughout the entire, like every team in the NBA, basically. He essentially got blackballed out of the NBA. The guy is a unit. He's fit as hell. Like, he's only 37. He absolutely could have played on some contending team and had like a realistic kind of a fit on that team. It is. I'm with Johnny. It's sad to see this.
I think it's the oversimplified, because a lot of the execs, you get this, it's that oversimplified corporate type thinking. When you have a failure, when you didn't reach the bottom line, which, let's be real, you either win the championship or you're considered a failure. We were brutal on Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs and all their issues in these NBA finals, and they were the second best team in the league. We're harsh when these guys fail. And I think Russell Westbrook is that easy target. You're looking for someone to blame every time you fail, because Russell Westbrook is that talent where when you pair him with Nikola Jokic, you're thinking, we could win a championship this year. When you pair him with LeBron James, you're thinking, we could win a championship this year. James Harden, same thing, on and on. That was kind of the tail end, the twilight years of his career. Is every year he's going somewhere, there's championship expectations. And every time he fails, he's the easiest guy to blame for it, whether it's deserved or not. In some cases, I think it was. In many cases, I think it wasn't.
I agree. Well said.